This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello and welcome to The Complete Guide to Everything, a podcast about everything. I'm one of your hosts, Tom.
And I'm Tim.
Tim, how are you doing this week?
Tom, I got a full belly and I'm ready to go.
What's it full of?
Pizza. And I have a question.
Okay.
I walked here.
Hopefully the question is, would I like some pizza?
Would you like some pizza?
Yes.
Okay. We've established it. I walked here heroically in the 83-degree heat.
Yeah, even after the sun went down, still hot.
Yeah. I mean, the sun was still up when I walked.
Well, it's down now, and it's still kind of hot.
I was like, you know what? I haven't eaten dinner yet. You know what I'll get? I'll get a slice on the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped at a
classic
pizzeria,
New York.
And I got a slice.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it not heated up.
Right, as is.
As is.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what our friend Dan used to used to go to pizzerias and be like, I'll just have a slice as is?
I mean, I say it that way, and they get it. They know. Like, I never get a like, huh?
Yeah. So I got it as is.
Uh-huh.
Got it on a paper plate.
Yeah.
Continued my walk and ate as I walked.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
What? Eating while...
eating a slice of pizza while walking down the street.
No, you're a weirdo. I know you've said that. I've mentioned to you in the past, like when I've met up with you or something, like, oh, I got a slice on the way. And you've been disgusted with me. Like you come from a different culture where that's rude.
I just think it's awkward.
That's
one.
In Japan, you can't walk and eat. It's considered rude.
Is that true?
Yeah. Is that where you picked up this?
Maybe. Why do you think it's considered rude?
I mean, I think in Japan, it's just because like everything's very clean. So it's like, you could like get crumbs on the street or whatever.
They're worried about crumbs on the street?
I mean,
Man,
look.
Sounds like a wonderland.
They've got a glass window or a broken window type way of seeing, street pollution over there.
Right.
And it's if even crumbs get on the street, then eventually that's going to lead to hypodermic needles just all over the place.
Right. And that's
and
I
filth
can see that
and
happen.
grime.
No, I mean, well, it's funny that you're attacking me for even just asking questions when you always talk about how much.
I'm not attacking you for asking questions. I'm attacking you for your previous statements on this topic.
I don't know if I've ever been on record saying that it was like gross or whatever you're trying to say. I just think it's awkward to try to eat a meal while walking down the street. I also think that as a true New Yorker, if you're walking down the street, you know what you should be doing? Walking down the goddamn street. You shouldn't be on your phone. Like,
yeah.
You should be, if you're going to be doing something other than getting to your destination, pull over and do what you need to do, and then get back on. But
you can eat pizza while keeping an eye on your surroundings. It's not the same as a phone. I'm not staring at the pizza the whole time I'm eating it as much as I would like to.
You take the slice and you miss. You get it right all over your nose. You get sauce all over your nose.
Yeah, it's not the same as, I know what you're saying, but it's not the same as.
Do you think you walk slower when you're eating a slice of pizza?
Yeah, because I'm enjoying the pizza. Walk around me, go around. I put my hazards on, let them know. I think there's no better type of food to eat than a pizza.
While walking.
Yeah.
In terms of like what could be considered a meal, like a Snickers bar is definitely okay.
Right. But I'm saying like food, like prepared food.
Yeah. Meatball sub.
Meatball, you're going to get meatballs all over the place. No, meatball sub is too hard to guarantee that you're not going to dribble.
Okay.
And it's
what about like a drier sandwich than a meatball sub? Like a turkey, like a turkey and Swiss on a roll.
Is it a soft roll?
It's a standard
I think as long as it's like a softish roll, that's okay.
You're worried about crumbs
I'm still worried about crumbs as always, but I'm worried too if it's like a very hard sandwich, is somebody gonna have to like turn their head to rip through the bread, and when they do that, taking their eyes off of the road, taking their eyes off of what they should be paying attention to.
If you're eating the New York slice the appropriate way,
yeah. And a hard bread, I'd also be worried about choking.
Well, what about the mozzarella cheese, Tom?
Well, mozzarella sticks, no way. Don't walk and eat mozzarella sticks.
Oh, you know what? On the pizza, as long as you're getting it as is, it's not going to be all stringy.
Exactly, yeah.
It's going to be congealed and not,
just
not very
oily.
Tasty, but...
No, I like that more. I don't like my pizza I don't like the cheese too stretchy. Sometimes it's ridiculous.
You think I like the cheese stretchy, Tom?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Me? You think I like making more of a mess?
I don't know. You like mozzarella sticks so much.
I like mozzarella sticks when it's they've cooled down and it's mostly like eating a paleo string cheese that's been
been breaded and deep fried. But yeah, I think it's fine to eat a slice of pizza walking down the street, Tim.
Okay, thank you.
If I saw you in the street, I wouldn't have pushed you over or anything like that, or called the police.
You probably would have for other reasons. You call the police on everybody that isn't doing exactly. They're getting crumbs.
Tim, you're going to get me canceled.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Tim, I was thinking a lot this week. If I can talk about something I'd like to talk about.
Is another cancel culture rant?
I mean, a little bit, I guess, because here's my question. I mean, I watched a video and it kind of had the answer to my question. But why don't we have airships anymore?
Airships?
Yeah,
like
more
blimps?
Yeah, more blimps and stuff.
Tom, can I tell you something?
What? Are you secretly investing in a project that I'm going to be interested to hear about?
I've been thinking about this a lot. For the first time ever this last weekend, I watched the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah, when they're on that blimp, it looks amazing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's run by Nazis, but like, forget about that part.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about a non-Nazi blimp, right? That you want to fly around.
Yes, I guess I forgot that it's actually a Nazi blimp, and maybe I shouldn't have immediately said, "Yeah, it's great. It looks like it's so much fun."
Right, it looked luxurious.
Yes,
if it wasn't adorned with the swastikas.
Exactly.
It didn't have
people asking for papers and all that.
No ticket. He says about the guy when he throws him out.
Yeah, it's very funny.
He's a bold man, that Indiana Jones.
He sure is, Tim. That's why they made a bunch of motion pictures about him.
Yeah. Is it just because the Hindenburg?
Kinda. Well, the Hindenburg, like, basically they figured out after the Hindenburg, like,
and what's the difference between a blimp and a dirigible?
There's like a few different things, and it mostly depends on, I think, like the frame, if it's like a rigid frame, a semi-rigid frame, or a non-rigid frame.
Sorry, I asked.
But basically they can use either hydrogen, which is dangerous because, I was going to say if it gets wet, but that's the Gremlins. If it gets a spark near it, it can all go up in flames,
right?
Like the Hindenburg.
So there's no smoking.
No smoking, or helium. But I believe the problem is helium's a lot more expensive.
Yeah, isn't there a helium shortage? Don't we not?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Basically, helium apparently is a non-renewable resource, which I think means like once we use it up, it's like, well, that's it. Helium is now extinct.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's a way to make helium.
I remember hearing that a few years ago and getting so alarmed, way more alarmed than I've ever gotten about climate change.
They're like, all right, enough is enough. We need to do something.
We need balloons, goddammit.
We need to cut back on everything. Well, and I think also, at least in
balloons just filled with air. Those are the worst balloons.
Oh, absolutely.
Screw those.
Unless you got like a whole room of them.
You got a whole, that's kind of maybe. Fun. I don't know. Still depressing.
No, I think the other problem with helium is that like the U.S. government subsidizes it. So it's like way cheaper than it actually would be.
Why would they do that?
I
Just
don't,
for tanks for freaking
because
birthday clowns?
The birthday clown union, Tim, and the birthday balloon lobbyists, they're all over Washington, D.C. Big birthday. And guess what? That's what they offer to the various Congress
hey, how would you like a big birthday?
Hey, how would you like a big birthday? We can get you a balloon so big. Oh, boy. You don't want to you wouldn't want me to let go of it because you'd fly off. And then it's like kind of a threat, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just like a veil. And they're like, oh, hey. And then somebody's like, is that a threat? Like, hey, I'm just kidding. It's a helium joke. And then the congressman,
have a slice of cake.
Then the congressman feels like, oh, I'm in on it. It's fine. So I believe that's the case, that we just can't make more helium, but helium is a lot safer.
Right.
But they're talking about that they want to use hydrogen, that they can put blimps all the way up in the stratosphere.
Well, I don't want that to happen.
No, listen, with cargo. And that it's like 90%, less bad for the environment shipping stuff that way,
right?
Than like a container ship. It uses 90% less energy or whatever, because it's just kind of like riding the current in the stratosphere. And also, it's like if China to California, it's like, well, yeah, and if the balloon pops, I think when it's up there.
It'll just probably make it to California anyway. Yeah.
No, I think it's like hydrogen at altitude isn't as flammable. Okay. So I think that wouldn't be a concern. But also, it's like it's over the ocean. So if if something goes wrong, it's just gonna fall in the ocean.
Yeah. Or you might you'll get a hot TV everywhere. How did this get so cheap? Fell off a blimp. Out of a blimp. I found it in the ocean.
Pacific Ocean. Well, I was like, well, but they also want to do travel blimps, like I think it's only
like the one that you loved so much from Indiana Jones and Last Crusade.
It's only like I think a few years away. They're taking reservations for this like luxury blimp ride to like the North Pole. Mm-hmm. The interior looks like a modern version
of the Polar Express.
No, of the Nazi
right again blimp without the
Nazi it had a lot. No, it had a lot of the iconography. Yeah,
yikes.
Unfortunately, they were sticking a little too close to the formula. They didn't know what it meant. No, it looked like like a yacht. Like a luxury yacht would look.
Would people like us be able to?
No, it's like. I mean, it wasn't like insanely out of reach, but it was like I want to say it was like tens of thousands of dollars. Like, obviously, you would never want to spend that kind of money, but it wasn't like $1 million.
Right. Wouldn't it be cool if the billionaires got into a blimp off instead of all of it? Like, if they became obsessed with blimp travel?
Yeah. And this had like a little cabins, you get for yourself when you're up there. Well, I'm kind of surprised.
Sleeper car?
Because this thing I was watching, they were saying like that it's actually a faster way to travel in a lot of trips, just because you can like take off and land anywhere. So you don't need a runway. So like, yeah, if you're some billionaire, you can be like, oh yeah, I have a football field in my backyard. I'll just keep my blimp, not even keep it, but just land and take off from there,
like they do with their helicopters.
Yeah, that basically it could replace trips that would be like half helicopter, half airplane, because like overall it would still be a shorter amount of time. And like it looks really cool. And it's like quiet. You're up there. It
seems so peaceful.
Yeah. But I was thinking, I was like, but like all you need is like one guy with a sniper rifle to, shoot a hole through it. Then I was like, well, I guess like you can't shoot planes either. Like planes aren't built to like, and we, Boeing comes out like, we built this plane so good. If a maniac with a sniper rifle shoots it from his backyard, it won't even crash probably.
I mean, it won't though, right?
No, I don't. Well, if you hit in the right place, it might. I mean, not if it's flying at altitude.
Right.
I mean, that's the same thing for these blimps. Like, I don't think they fly high enough that you could hit them with a bullet.
They fly higher than you be able to hit them.
Yeah. The bullet wouldn't be able to reach them.
Right. I'm just concerned. It's. I feel like it'll take like an hour or two to get to the altitude, right?
No, it climbs super quick.
Really?
Like it's actually kind of scary looking.
Now I'm afraid. Now I don't want to get in one of these.
It climbs at like a 45-degree angle. Like it looks kind of crazy.
Why did we not do this episode about blimps? I have so many more questions.
Well,
I'm sure you don't have the answers to them.
I was going to say the reason why we didn't, Tim, is because that's it. I'm tapped out on what I know about blimps.
Tom, come in, have a seat.
Yes. Oh, I'm being interviewed for a job.
Yeah. This episode's about job interviews.
Nobody says come in, have a seat. That's like when you get called into the principal's office.
What do you mean?
Not the
have
way
you ever been on a job interview?
The way you're saying it.
Please sit down.
No, people are nice usually. They're like, hey, please sit down. They're not like, hey, please sit down. But they're nicer. You're saying it in a very stern tone.
Oh, come on in, have a seat. I was smiling.
Oh, okay.
It was a little low energy, but
yeah. Well, maybe you've been doing a lot of interviews today.
Yeah, exactly. Tom, have you been on both sides of the job interview process?
Yes, but I've not been on either side in a very long time now.
Yeah.
But don't worry, that won't stop me from giving advice. Advice for new grads.
Condescending advice, probably. Yeah. Do you like the process on either side of it?
No.
I hate both of it. I've been on both sides.
Yeah.
I think the ideal place to be is to have one job your whole life.
Right.
And not rise to a level.
The boss.
Exactly. And not rise to a level where you have enough responsibility where you're conducting job interviews.
Yeah, because and that's the interesting thing. Like once you get to a certain point, like job interviews change. They're like way less formal. They're way less formal, but then way more involved.
Yeah.
When it's like executives and stuff. Like I just remember working at jobs where it was like, they're going to hire a new like C-level executive. So like each of the current C-level executives is going to like go out to dinner with a bunch of different people and go out for drinks and go on a weekend with their families.
Yeah, they have to go like turkey hunting.
And, yeah, all these things. And then, like, I know about these because I would get roped into them sometime where.
What? You were not.
I know. I was like, the lowest level employee.
To get people drinks and stuff.
No.
And, like, clean their shoes.
I think it was probably mostly to be like, let's see if he like treats this guy like shit, because like this guy seems really great.
We're gonna bring a real Poindexter here and see if he gets bullied.
We're gonna bring a guy in that's gonna annoy this man. So it was a regular Mr. Bean situation that I was often brought into to see if somebody would finally lose their cool after putting up with a half hour of my antics.
You were like an Ernest P. Worrell kind of character.
Yeah. Like somehow I had inadvertently push a man's wife out of a window and she would land in a horse trough down below. Various things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, these are all typical job interview things that we're talking about.
Well, but I'm saying I've never really been on. Well, like I said, I've been like brought along on some of those. Like, hey, I'm like going to the bar to meet this guy. Like, why don't you come? But I've never been interviewed that way.
Right. Yeah. The only interviews that I've ever been through are gauntlets of.
Yeah.
All right. You are going to come to an office for 7 hours one day. And you're going to meet with 15 people.
Yeah.
And they're all going to ask you kind of the same questions.
Right.
And then they're all going to go, so do you have any questions for me?
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. I just asked like 13 other people a whole bunch of questions, I'm kind of I know all the answers.
Yeah.
I know everything. I don't have any more questions.
Yeah, I've had those interviews where, by the end, I've asked all the questions I have. So then I'd be like, so like, what temperature do you guys like to keep this office at? Because you're just out of things to ask.
Yeah. I guess you could ask the same question of multiple people, but then it's just like, I don't know. It's fake.
Yeah.
The last guy answered it.
Yeah, the last guy told me if there are any babes working here or not.
And that the temperature's kept at a nice 72.
Yeah, so I guess those are all my... Yeah, usually I say, well, I asked the last guy about the temperature and if there are any babes here, so I don't think I have many questions for you.
That way they know that you've covered all your bases.
Yeah, does this company drug test? That's my other question.
Tom, my life would have been a lot different if I didn't think that Blockbuster Video was going to make me pee in front of another person.
Which is why you never got a job at Blockbuster Video, which you now think has held back your career.
I don't know. I just think it would have been fun to work at a Blockbuster. I'd be
it would have been your in into Hollywood
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have been like, oh, I've learned the screenplay structure, and now I can take that to Hollywood and write
tell them
the next
how to write a screenplay book.
Hunting.
Well,
I could have been the next Matt and Ben.
Did you interview at Blockbuster?
I went to the kiosk and they said, "Are you willing to drug?" I put in all my information. I don't think it was a rigorous process. And I put it in, and then they were like,
"Man, that must have been like early for like interview kiosks too."
Yeah. And they were like, "I didn't do drugs," and they were just like, "Would you be willing to submit to a drug test?"
I thought it was like because you were like, I like smoke pot.
No, it was like, oh, I don't want to have
pee
to
in front of somebody.
Yeah, like because what I thought would happen would be like a guy would be like, all right, take out your private parts, and I'm gonna watch you
pee behind the counter. You're a Blockbuster.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Tim, you could have gotten one of those prosthetic penises that they sell for if you have to cheat on a drug test.
It wouldn't matter. That's not that. It was the awkwardness.
Well,
of, like it doesn't matter if it was a real or fake thing. What concerned me was like I just thought it'd be awkward. I'd have to like make small talk with this person. Would probably be like my boss.
Right.
It's like see this person every day.
So you didn't really understand how they drug test.
No.
I did a drug test once when I tried to get a job working for Coca-Cola.
Right.
Before they realized we hired this guy. He's going to drink all the soda.
Yeah. Were you just like, oh, I'll get paid in the sweet brown
No,
stuff.
I was hoping to get paid, but then steal a lot of soda.
You ever steal from your employer, Tom?
No. I was actually thinking about this I was thinking about it because I was telling you about that heist thing that I watched.
Right.
Would you like me to explain that again?
You did it for hours.
But I was thinking about it, and I was like, nah, I've like never really stolen. I've never stolen anything of consequence from an employer.
I was asking that as a gotcha question where you'd be like, oh, come on, stop accusing me of this. You answered it very honestly.
Yeah.
Of course you've never stolen from an employer.
Oh, I don't know. A lot of people steal from a lot of places. But I was going to say, I like when I worked in a store, had like, I never stole any like product or whatever, but I knew like which manager to go to ask for like a price on like an open box thing.
Right.
And like I got some things at prices and I was also a manager. So then I would sell that person something at prices that like, I don't know if you'd be able to call the cops on this, but certainly it wouldn't look good on a balance sheet.
Yeah. Well, I would like to call the cops on you the way that you do about anybody getting crumbs on the street in front of your building.
Now I'm never going to be able to go on a job interview. What if somebody invites me in for a job interview, Tim, and they're like, all right, well, first things first, let me to listen to every episode of this guy's podcast. Well, they'd probably be like, well, job interviews, let me see what he has to say about that.
Exactly.
Fuck, I really didn't think this through, Tim. What if I do need a job? Well, we'll take it down.
I mean, all you said was that you didn't steal from your employer.
No, I just colluded with other employees to dramatically mark down prices.
All right, so you're not gonna get a job in retail.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go back to retail anyway.
No.
So maybe I'm sabotaging myself here, Tim.
I kind of do.
You want to go back to retail?
I want to.
You still want that job at Blockbuster Video?
No, you know what? I think this is. I keep finding like new definitions of midlife crises.
Why are you looking them up?
No, like in my life. Like it's just like I'll be like, oh, you know what I feel like? I feel like
having a Corvette and
no. That's it. Like
and a 19-year-old girlfriend.
It's like I don't want a 19-year-old girlfriend. I want to be 19 in that like it's like no, I want nobody to expect anything from me.
Right.
And it's just be like, I want to clock in for a job where like nobody really cares what I do.
Yeah.
And all I care about is what party I'm going to. Like, I want my 19-year-old life. Again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, yeah, I guess that's what people like approaching 40 always think. Like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, you'll
the
get
cool
over
part
it.
of my life is done.
You'll get over it, Tim. I'm sure, as you get older and older, you'll be like, nah, it wasn't that great, I guess.
You know what? I think I might come to. I think you always have to be looking forward. Tom.
Well, yeah, and there are. I mean, you're talking about like the best parts of being 19, but like if you sit and think through all of it,
I wasn't happy.
Yeah, it's like maybe I wouldn't want to be that age again.
Yeah.
Did you ever interview at like like stores, like places in the mall or anything like that?
Blockbuster freaking Video.
Well, but beyond Blockbuster Video.
Old Navy one time.
Mm-hmm.
And
they told you don't have the look. You don't have the Old Navy look. You look like shit in cargo jeans.
I looked good in cargo jeans. Not even cargo jeans. Cargo pants. Tom.
Well, I'm giving away my next idea.
You could hold so much in those pockets. What were we thinking? What were we even carrying around? No,
they're coming back. Because nowadays we do actually have a bunch of stuff to hold in our phones.
That fits in your regular pocket. You don't need a big cargo pocket.
What if I've got a huge phone and a tablet and a Wi-Fi hotspot and a drone? I need pockets for all these things.
Yeah, drone.
A battery pack and then another battery pack, an extra one for the drone.
I went into the back of the Old Navy, right, where they had a bunch of us.
And you were so horrified seeing how the sausage was made that you were like, I can't work here. Blah!
I went into the back of the Old Navy, and they had a few of us there. It was like a round table interview. And then they were just asking us multiple choice questions. Like, if you see someone stealing from Old Navy, another coworker from Old Navy, would you, A, confront them privately and try to convince them not to steal? B, immediately tell a manager.
Hint.
Yeah, or C, just ignore it. It's none of your business. And like, I tried to answer them honestly the way that like me, a compassionate non-narc would.
Yeah.
I think I'd be able to convince them not to do it and explain to them why it's wrong. And I think and like they were like, that's bullshit. But I still got the job.
Yeah. Oh, you probably thought like I'll say this and they'll think this guy's actually management material.
I also didn't want to in front of all these other people who were like, some of them were scumbags, and I wanted to think I was cool, right? They were my fellow
scumbags.
No, they were my fellow interviewees.
Right.
And I was like, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I'd turn this guy into to you, right? Yeah. So like I tried to be kind of cool about it. And also like even at the time I was like, fuck Old Navy, I don't care. I think everybody should steal from Old Navy.
It sounds like you're not going to get a job at Old Navy.
They gave me a job at Old Navy.
Well, they're not going to. I doubt that offer's still open.
It's not still open because they gave me a job and then I didn't want it. So I just didn't show up for my first shift.
Yeah.
They called me up so angry. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to ever come in. Sorry.
I'm surprised. Well, I could see them being angry if like somebody that day was like supposed to train you. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I don't like when I worked in retail, we had that happen occasionally. And it was just like, oh, well, like who knows what happened to that person, but like they never, at least they didn't come, at least they didn't do this on their second day after they had like filled out their paperwork and stuff.
Now off to steal some open box items.
Before we move off of like retail job interviews, perhaps into more general job interviews, I wanted to talk about, I was thinking about it recently. When I worked in retail, I worked for Apple, and I had to, like later when I was a manager, I had to like go to like, I don't know, like conferences and stuff a lot and training things and other store openings. And I just remember this one like training thing where there was like one person there, and even amongst like Apple employees, this person was like insanely diehard Apple. And we were talking about like, somebody was like, you ever have like a customer come in to the store to like show you their Apple tattoo? And everybody was like, oh, yeah. And then this guy was like, yeah, this guy came in once and he had an Apple tattoo on his throat, like right on like his Adam's apple.
That's not safe. Is it safe?
Who knows? It depends on how thick your skin is. But
how much can you like a corporation?
But we were like, and this one guy was like, I would have invited him in for a job interview. And I was like, I'm not going to buy a computer as a customer. I'm coming into a place and the guy's got a tattoo of the place where he works.
Maybe as a customer, you think like this guy himself is a product.
And then next thing you know, somebody's taking him home.
Yeah, that's cool.
And is it cool?
Maybe
Tim?
they're
Slavery.
Paying. Oh, maybe they're paying.
Well, that's not.
Then that's just a job. That's just that's a second
that's
job.
That's just them hiring him away.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this recently because I was like, the guy showed us a picture of it, and it was like, like the tatted up dude, like real punk. And I said that I was like, that's a tatted up dude. He's real punk. But I was thinking about, I'm like, wonder how that guy feels nowadays having a multi-trillion-dollar, the biggest, back then it was like, oh, Apple's the underdog that creative people use.
Freaking company.
Oh,
though.
Absolutely.
Who cares? Like, the guy's still the lamest guy. Even in, what was this, 2002?
Yeah.
He's still
like
the
that.
lamest guy on
Earth.
Earth.
I mean, I agree, but I'm just saying now it's got to be, now it's just like, wow, that guy must really like AirPods or his iPhone.
I mean, before it was like, man, this guy must really like that colorful computer that the weird college kids have on their
because maybe he was a weird college kid himself, Tim.
Yeah, I bet he is still proudly like, because he thinks people who bought Apple products but not Apple stock in like the 90s and 2000 early 2000s, they think like, this is all, but I have something to be proud of here. I'm a visionary.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're not rich from it, you're operating at a loss here. They got more money out of you than you ever got out of them.
But I was always shocked when I did interviews for retail, and like we would pre-screen people pretty well. Still, just how many like people where it's like, how do you function in society? Like you're just so dumb. Just like answering questions like that. Like, what do you do? Even simpler questions like, how do you feel about stealing? Like it's wrong. It's okay in some situations, or like it doesn't hurt big corporations, and people that would answer that way. And it's like, well, that big corporation's not going to hire you knucklehead.
Yeah. I mean, part of, I guess, the interview process is
to get rid of those people. Yeah.
Yeah, but also, Tom, you got to stop finishing my sentences. We've talked about this.
Well, I know what you're going to say, and I can deliver more efficiently sometimes.
No, it's to, everybody feels like it's fine to steal from a big corporation. It's just like, how political can you, like, how much common sense do you have not to say that in an interview?
Right. And the amount of common sense you need is very small.
You're not looking for a choir boy.
Right.
You're looking for someone who's smart enough to be like, who's smart enough to say that they won't steal from you.
Yeah. And like, I'm trying to think about it. I don't think we ever had like, somebody narc on somebody else. Like, and there were times when like people were stealing, and I don't know if anybody else knew about it, but,
was it really as easy to steal from the Apple Store as I was led to believe in the early 2000s?
Yeah, there is no alarms on anything.
Could you really just like grab an iPod and just walk out with it and nobody would pursue you?
They're not supposed to. I mean, but that's the case for every store. But like, we would have idiots that would sometimes do that. And, again, it was like,
you'd bring a knife to work.
No, again, it was like, that's not coming out of your paycheck.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about the multi-billion-dollar corporation making up the money for that iPod. Don't go like, get knifed or shot trying to get it back. Like, the company's not going to do it. It's going to fire you for that. So don't do it. Yeah, that's my message.
If you see someone stealing, just friggin' look the other way. Who cares?
Unless,
honestly, no, seriously.
What about if it's a priceless piece of art at the museum, Tim?
Guess what? If that museum isn't keeping an eye on it,
then they deserve it.
They don't deserve it.
Blaming the victim.
The museum isn't even looking at it. What is art? Art is there to be looked at.
Yeah, well, maybe
if they're not looking at it, then guess what? You don't deserve it.
Maybe somebody switched it out with a fake, and it took them a little while to realize, or somebody did in the middle of the night, like a cat burglar.
Still be looking at it. If you want to have art and you're serious about having art, you should always have someone looking at that art.
Yeah. So you don't think like the police should help out in these cases?
No.
Yeah. They should just, if anything, chastise the museum for not keeping a close enough eye on its art.
Helps out.
The police help out when somebody steals from a museum. They're like, this is like a movie. Yeah, we want to help.
A lot of things happen in the movies that don't happen in real life.
No, Tim, again, I've watched a lot of shows.
A lot of movies.
No, I've watched a lot of documentaries about stealing and stuff.
Yeah.
And the police, sometimes the FBI, they love to get involved.
You know a lot about stealing, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I know a lot if you don't want it to happen to you.
Would you ever flag down a store employee if you saw somebody stealing from the store?
No.
Okay.
Because I think that would just it would depend. Like if it was like a small mom and pop shop, sure. Okay. But if it were like...
when's the last time you've been in a small mom and pop shop?
Like a bodega or something, like a corner place. But I'd also be real careful about it.
You would never do that.
I'd be like, you might want to check in the back. All right. After I paid and I was like walking out of the store. Wouldn't
you be afraid that it might be a bad grandpa prank? And then you're going to be in the next bad grandpa, narking out the bad grandpa?
I will say it right here, right now. I'm never signing a release for a bad grandpa. Not bad grandpa 2, not bad grandpa 3. Not going to do it.
I'll never sign a release for anything.
Anything I'm not getting paid for? No. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this on the show.
Listen up.
Hollywood.
Yeah. Hidden camera prank shows.
Don't prank us.
Yeah. Or prank us, but then freaking pay us already.
Yeah.
Pay up.
Pay
up Harvey Weinstein.
Well, Tim, I don't think. Yeah.
He's the most powerful man in Hollywood.
I don't think
you know his name?
I don't think he does prank shows. I think I would never sign any of those things. Yeah.
All right, let's get to some job interview questions.
Interview questions. Tim, I looked up on Indeed.com. They had a list of their top 8 tips.
I got to indubitably.com.
Well, it sounds like it's probably hard to spell. You probably go to the wrong site a lot. Yeah. And I'd like to go over some of these tips if I can. Is that okay with you?
Sure. These are tips?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tip number 1, research the company and interviewer. Yeah.
I don't
find
like that.
out where they live, find out where they hang out, what their routines are, what time they leave for work, what time they come home from work, what they do on the weekends, if they have a security system in their house, if they seem like they're a gun owner or not.
I don't like when I'm interviewing. Whenever I have interviewed someone and they know anything about me.
Oh, absolutely. The same things happen to me.
When they're like, oh, well, of course, in your experience, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, who the fuck told you?
Who told you this?
Yeah.
Who's the rat? Who's out there telling people things about me?
Yeah, hey, whoever told you that, tell them to keep my name out of their goddamn mouth.
Yeah. I also feel like anytime that's happened for me, it's been like something where when they mention it, I'm like, huh? And I'm like, oh, right. Oh, maybe just mostly, I guess, because of the context. But oftentimes it's like, they look me up on LinkedIn or something. And it's like,
oh, that LinkedIn page, that's all full of lies.
Those are all gross exaggerations. Yeah. No, but it's like, oh, that was, a job I did like 10 years ago or something. Or like through like a site like LinkedIn, they'll be like, oh, so-and-so. And I'm like, who? And then they'll be like, so-and-so. And then I'll like look them up and be like, oh, yeah. I vaguely remember this person.
Yeah.
I'm bad at remembering faces. Well, I don't think it's necessarily even that. I think sometimes I will run into situations where it's like somebody I worked with more than a decade ago. And it's like, oh, this person doesn't look the same anymore. And I like this person, but I haven't thought about them in 10 years. So. Right.
Have you ever been friends with any of your coworkers?
Yeah.
Oh, I never do that.
I pretty much every job I've had, which haven't been that. How do you have
so few friends?
I haven't had that many jobs, Tim.
Next tip.
Practice answers to common questions.
Right.
Or some common questions.
How old are you?
Practice that. I don't think you're allowed to ask that in an interview, actually.
What are the last 4 digits of your social? What's your mother's maiden name?
Yeah. And
first pet.
Then later on, you ask them, what are the first 3 digits of your social?
Yeah, but you got to mix it up a little bit.
Right, so they don't realize.
What's your biggest weakness? Which I remember just like...
I work too hard.
See...
Tim, it takes some... Whoa. We've never had. Usually people say it's stealing or laziness, or they have a substance abuse problem. But your biggest problem is you work too hard.
If you look at this weakness,
that's a good thing for me.
If you look at it from another angle, that could be a positive. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily, but I guess I can see how you think it's a weakness. Yeah. Also, if somebody thinks working hard is a weakness, maybe you don't want them working for you.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Around here, we want our people to work hard.
Yeah. We don't want somebody to think they failed because they worked hard.
This isn't a head shop or something where you can just smoke doobies all day. And if you're working too hard, it's like, hey, man, you're freaking the customers out. Stop working so hard.
I don't want to work at a head shop ever.
No, I don't either.
I don't think I'd get along with the clientele.
I was going to say, I bet people at head shops get like the weirdest questions all day. Probably just like ask questions about like drugs they don't know about. Like, hey, could I use this for, Pindlepap? And they're like, well, I don't know.
But the head shop guys know what Pindlepap is.
The good ones do, yeah. But not the ones that work too hard and as such get kicked out and now they're looking for another job.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? They want to see that you got a plan.
Yeah, I had a job interview once where somebody asked me, I think they asked me like, what's your biggest weakness type of question. And usually my answer is I don't have any.
Really?
Which they like to hear, Tim. They like to hear that you have the self-awareness to know that you don't have any weaknesses. Yeah. No, they asked me,
why would you hire me if I had any weaknesses?
No, they like, No, how did it go? They, yeah, that's what I think they asked me if I had any weaknesses, and I like gave, the kind of answer you're supposed to. And literally the guy
Shit my
went,
pants once a month or so.
And literally the guy was like, "That's a bullshit answer." But like we had a friendly rapport, so it was fine.
Yeah.
But then guess what? Later on, when it was time for me to ask questions, when he answered one of the questions, I said that was a bullshit answer. And guess what?
You didn't get the job.
we founded Google together. No, I did get the job because by then it was like there was like a good rapport.
Yeah.
I would say that that's part of it. Like try and establish some kind of a rapport. If somebody curses, curse back at them.
Angrily.
And
someone says something about your mother. Hit back 10 times harder about their mother.
If somebody curses, try and curse back as quickly as possible.
with like a higher level curse.
Right.
They say ass, say fuck. Go right to fuck.
Yeah, and just as quick and as loud. Fuck.
Yeah, and as aggressively as possible.
Yeah, like if they're like, oh yeah, last quarter we were really out on our ass. Fuck.
Yeah, they like they're like, oh, this guy's cool.
Oh, bold.
Yeah, another alpha male.
Yeah, hopefully the person that's interviewing you isn't an alpha male. Otherwise they might get intimidated.
Tom, I will say this about the questions that like are the what's your biggest weakness and stuff. Like, I don't know about you, but like many times, the interviewer has to ask questions that they don't give a shit about.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever get from an interviewer like tell me about a time at work where, and like, that whole line of questioning, that's always like, that guy didn't think of that question. He doesn't care about your answer.
Well, I remember like
HR told him to say that.
So many times at jobs where I've been a manager, like having to do an interview last minute because like somebody showed up that everybody forgot about, somebody scheduled
what kind of freaking keep cops organizations have you worked for?
Well, like somebody would schedule an interview, but then they had some other crisis they had to deal with.
Yeah.
So they were like, can you just do an interview? And yeah, I would just resort to like, I mean, sometimes I was doing it. It's like, I don't really know what this job is. So I'm just going to ask you. Yeah. And it sucks, but like...
It's going to ask you out on a date. It's not illegal if you don't work here yet.
Exactly. And if the person wasn't supposed to interview you. No, I don't know. It sucks that those questions exist, but I feel like there is almost a like, I have to ask you some questions to make sure you're not a complete maniac.
Right. Also, it's like, I think a lot of the interview process is like, can you answer a question? Can you put together a few coherent sentences that are concise, vaguely answer the question,
right,
and don't sound insane?
Yeah,
right. And like that's like 99% of it. It's just like, are you going to talk for 10 minutes about nonsense like Sarah Palin in 2008, or are you just going to like say a couple things that relevant to what I asked, and then we're going to move on?
I will say actually that I do remember doing interviews where I asked that line of questioning of like, can you tell me about a time you had a challenge at work and you had to figure out a solution and implement it or whatever? And like sometimes I would get answers where it's like, okay, let's wrap up the interview. Because the problem, sometimes it would be like a problem that they caused, like where, and not like by accident, by like, oh, you shouldn't have been doing that. And then sometimes people would be like,
so me and Georgie in the back, we had this scheme, right? Where we'd have an open box. He'd mark it down for me, sell it to me at a criminally low price.
I don't know if that kind of thing ever happens.
I would have another product that Georgie wanted. I'd mark that down. I scratch Georgie's back. He scratches mine. Then Georgie decides he's going to fuck me over.
And flip. No, but
so that was a challenging experience I had at work.
No, and then sometimes people would have like legit problems where like I'd be like, okay, like so far so good. And then the way they would solve it would be by like shoving the responsibility off to somebody else or like hiding it from anybody else finding out. Which also is not. Yeah. So like sometimes that line of questioning was actually you got an idea. And then sometimes, or like
some of you like, my coworker was an asshole.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes people would explain problems and like hearing what they thought was a problem sometimes, and like the way they would describe it, you'd be like, oh, you're going to have to deal with a way bigger problem. Like that is not you're describing like a regular transaction. Like I remember at the store, like people would be like, oh, this woman came in for a return, but she didn't have a receipt. So I asked her if she had a credit card that she bought it with, and we could look it up that way. And it's like, that's the biggest problem you've ever dealt with. You're going to have to do that 20 times a day here.
Well, some people have charmed lives, my friend.
Number 3, reread the job description.
I think that's a good.
Yeah. Don't just read it once. Remember what you applied for. Yeah. Although I feel like, I don't know, maybe it was just like the place I was in my career. Like I interviewed for a lot of jobs where like the job descriptions were vague. Like a lot of jobs where it was like, we don't have anybody doing this yet, but we want to have somebody doing it. So it's going to be like, but nobody here like knows about it. So we're going to describe the job and like
you were not qualified for these jobs, Tom.
No, it was a lot of times like the people putting like the HR people putting together the description or something were not really sure what the job was.
What I'm saying is you got to read between the lines.
No, I'm qualified for every job.
No, if it was that
I've ever interviewed for,
they had somebody in mind and had to go through the motions.
No, because I had like the last time I went, you know the story, but the last time I went for job interviews, I was interviewing with like 3 different companies.
Halliburton, right?
Is that Halliburton, Blackwater, and the Bush White House?
Nice.
No, 2 companies I was interviewing with at the same time that will remain nameless because one is sometimes a sponsor of the show, although I do not hold any ill feelings towards them.
Ned?
No, it wasn't Ned, Tim. Jesus.
Ned's been a company for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And they're doing great from what I
understand.
They're
doing great. They make a great product. I used their product last night to go to sleep.
Yeah. And we've been pronouncing it Pionia wrong.
Yeah, somebody wrote in.
Yeah.
But anyway, this isn't an ad for Ned.
Is it though? Send him an invoice.
What was I saying? Now you knocked me off track completely.
You were interviewing at 3 different places.
Oh, yeah. And
you don't like it when people interrupt you when you're trying to talk, do you?
2 of the places.
We're really dumb and stupid, like you and your dumb face and your whole dumb family.
Tim, if this is the way you act on job interviews, it's no wonder.
Do you think you're interviewing me for a job every week? Do you think that's what
yeah, Tim, and I'm close to making a decision.
Really? Every week I leave my house, I would say to my wife, like, another round. But
yeah, I'm really not sure if you're.
What the hell is your dog doing?
She's scratching
herself. How is your dog making this much noise? All hell is breaking loose.
I had 2 different jobs. I was
stop it.
just hitting the floor like Thumper, scratching herself.
What's going on?
2 different jobs I was interviewing that, like you were saying, I had to come in for like 4 rounds of job interviews, and then like the second to last round would be like, we're going to have like round robin everybody from the company over like 4 hours come in here.
It's like, can you use all of your vacation time for your current job to come in here?
And sometimes it was like, yeah, we're going to have like everybody interview you. So part of that is going to be like pulling some like vice president that does not want to be doing this right now and was not given any heads up. We're going to pull her in, and she's going to be like, just not happy with the situation at all. But I had 2 different jobs that both told me like, we're making a decision this week. We're down between you and one other candidate. And then both of them call me up and say, we decided not to hire either of you. So, and
putting you down easy.
And presented it to me in a way such that it was like, we're not hiring either of you, so you can't feel bad.
Right.
Somebody didn't get the job.
They hired the other guy.
Somebody, no.
They did. They just told you they didn't hire anybody.
Why would they lie about that?
Because so you'd feel good about yourself. And then
I didn't feel good.
Years later, you're still like, hey, this is great.
No, I didn't feel that way at all, because all I felt was like, oh, wow. So this was a tremendous waste of time for everyone.
Yeah.
Because
that's what life is.
Well, it goes with my other complaints. Both of these jobs were like vaguely new positions that they didn't really know what these positions would be completely. And it also seemed like they didn't know like what level of person they wanted and like how much they were going to pay for the jobs. So both were just very frustrating, because it was like, oh, you guys didn't all like get together before and decide like, here's how much we're willing to pay for somebody. Here's like what the job's going to entail.
Yeah, they're shuffling papers around at work every day, like most people.
That's what I said. I was like, it's just going to be shuffling papers around all day.
Yeah, could do that.
Yeah.
One time, Tom, my biggest pet peeve, the last time I interviewed for jobs, which was like years ago, we're out of touch.
Yeah. I will say too, actually, real quick, because before I forget it, that in both these cases, the person that like was responsible for the hiring was not the same person I would be reporting to. And that by the time like that person was brought in, I think they were like,
this is a detail.
They were like, oh, why did you bring in these people?
It.
This isn't the kind of people I want.
This is why
they're overqualified. He's too smart.
He's too smart and handsome.
Yeah, he's too good looking.
I saw him in the bathroom. His wiener was too big. It made me uncomfortable.
He insisted on doing a drug test in front of me.
There was like, I don't know if it's still this way. I think it's fucked up. If you'll go through several rounds. You can do
job interviews on TikTok now, Tim.
You go through several rounds of interviews, and like you're getting close, and then you just never hear from them, and then they don't answer your emails at all.
Yeah, I've heard that happens a lot now, which is even more insane.
It's insane.
Yeah, incredibly rude.
Especially like you can do the most impersonal, just like a form email, just to like close the book.
Oh,
so somebody,
absolutely.
Yeah, happened with some big evil bank that launders money for terrorists that I interviewed at like a decade ago.
Yeah.
And I went in for like 7 interviews. Like I met everybody except for like the CEO of the bank. Mm-hmm. And then like I was like, oh, that went well, and then like followed up like
that went well. I was really talking up how much I agree with that terrorist organization's ideals.
Exactly. And these sickos, they like to hear that shit. These fucking banks. I don't even remember what bank it was. Anyway, what were we talking about?
But you just never heard back from them.
No,
again.
and I emailed HR, I called HR, and they just like never got back to me.
Yeah, luckily I never had that happen. And the one time I thought it happened, I called because it had been like 3 weeks or something. And I was just like, I just need to like stop thinking about this. And they were like, oh, yeah, we want to hire you. I didn't call, I emailed. Yeah. And they were like, oh, yeah, we want to hire you. It's like, what? Why did you wait for me to ask?
They wanted to see if you had initiative. You took initiative.
Well, even that wasn't really no, because that's the other thing. Like, here's one of Tom's tips. Like, don't email too quickly right away. You know, sometimes I would interview people and they would be like emailing every day asking like, send a nice thank you email.
If you don't do the thank you email, you're a dingus.
You're a moron. Yeah. But don't overdo it too. Sometimes
just be like, thanks for talking with me. It was great hearing about the company.
Yeah. And if there is anything to follow up on, that like you didn't know off the top of your head, but you know,
put your glamour shots in there. Your poetry, your short stories.
No, but like I've worked jobs where like people have sent like gift baskets afterwards, and it's like, this like, I mean, and they've never been the people that were like top of my. Actually, one was, and that person was hired, but
you know what? I blame the freaking companies.
But I wasn't impressed, but other people were like, oh.
But just I like that, like these the startup world before it got like super mature, like. They would be like, oh, look at this guy. We hired this guy. His resume came in the form of a rap that he performed. And that was so creative. And now they all have to put on their websites, like, please just
don't
follow.
Send us rap videos.
just follow the procedures. We're not, if you send your cover letter on a boomerang or whatever, it's not, we're not going to.
What are they going to do, Tim? Throw it out. It's going to come right back.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't have time for the rest of Indeed's tips. The rest aren't good. They're recruit a friend to practice. Sure.
Tom, have you ever done that?
No.
You're gonna sit and be like, all right, Tom, now you interview me. And I'm like, any question I answered sincerely, you'd be like, what a loser.
Yeah.
You're gonna say that?
I mean, it's maybe something ugly. You could do with a romantic partner. Somebody you feel more comfortable being vulnerable with, Tim.
That's true.
Prepare a list of
always constantly belittling you.
Prepare a list of references. I mean,
they're gonna ask for them.
They're gonna ask for them, and prep those references. Be like, hey, heads up, you might get, because sometimes somebody will be like, oh, I'm going to Tahiti for a month or whatever. I'm throwing my phone in the ocean. Be prepared with examples of your work and prepare smart questions for interviewers. I will say that's another good one, though.
Part.
Prepare.
You don't have to do this.
Prepare questions ahead of time. Don't try and think of them off the top.
Yeah, of course.
Tim, let's do the plugs and then I'll give my tips.
Oh, Tom's tips?
Yeah,
all right.
Tom's tips.
Stick around after the plugs because you're not going to want to miss Tom's tips.
TCGT.com is our website to find out more. You can go to tcgt.com/live to buy live tickets to our show October 5th in New York City, or
New York City,
live streamed over the web. You can buy those tickets too.
Anywhere on earth.
tcgt.com/live. Sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/complete guide. This week, a new series of Books the Podcast begins. With
the novelization of the film Junior.
Yes. Tim is reading the novelization of the 1994 film Junior.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito, and who's the other one? Emma Thompson.
Well, more importantly, the book is written by Leonore Fleischer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we got to know who the author is.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/complete guide. You can get those episodes and all the back catalog of Books to Podcasts et al. Follow us on Twitter at Complete Guide. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Tom Reynolds.
Follow me at your pal, Tim.
That's all the plugs I'm going to do for today because I got to get to these.
There's a Discord. There's a Reddit.
They're all on the website. Tim, here I have 3 tips. Tom's 3 top tips. The T is also alliterative in 3, even though.
Just Tom's tray tips. You know,
trio. Tom's trio of top tips.
Right.
Number 1, have a drink or 2 before you go in for an interview. Have you ever done this?
No.
I've done this.
I didn't lose 3 jobs where they lied to me and said they didn't hire anybody. Was the other person also showing up drunk?
Not drunk, but a little loose. Loosen up a little bit. You know, if you're too nervous, you need something. If you need something to take the edge off, now be very careful because you don't want to take off any more than the edge, because then you're going to wind up in trouble.
Yeah.
And also bring mouthwash if you're going to do this.
Did you do this? Did you?
Yeah. Like I remember I showed up early for an interview. I was so nervous. I went into a bar and just got a shot of whiskey. And then I was like, whoo, all right. Now I feel
drunk.
Now I feel like life's worth living. Number 2, don't show up covered in sweat. Which I've also done for every interview I've ever had as a result of often it being warm when I've been looking for jobs. I'm a very sweaty person. And then I'm nervous and also probably running late.
That's an actual tip. Just get there an hour early if you need to.
Yeah,
and then go to a Dwayne
can.
Reed. It's going to be air conditioned in there. It's nice.
Yeah,
just walk the aisles.
I will say that I've done that in other job interviews in the city where I just go into like a CVS or something where I'm like, all right, I'm a half hour early. I didn't have to like hurry. I'm not as nervous, so I'm not sweaty. And now I'm going to stand under an air conditioner for a half hour to make sure I'm not coated in sweat. And number 3, act like you don't want the job.
Yeah, like a little aloof.
A little aloof.
Better than it.
Yeah.
Like you should be interviewing the interviewer.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
to leave that shitty company.
The best, I mean, it's hard to do. It's very hard to do when you badly need the job. But I mean, there's no better situation than like having a job that you're not necessarily looking to leave, but taking an interview just to be like, yeah, let me see what they're talking about. Let me see what they're offering. Because then you're just like very confident and you don't care about.
You turn the chair around like Dwayne Wayne.
Like Dwayne Reed. Yeah, but you're just like, I'm not being interviewed. This is like a conversation see if I'm a good fit, to see if this is something I want too. I mean, and also I will say a legitimate tip, keep that in mind that like, you shouldn't be like, I just want, don't be like one of these people are on The Bachelorette or whatever, where you're just like, I want it.
I'm here for the right reason.
Yeah. Like, make sure it's a good fit for you too. If you have the, obviously if you badly need a job, like, and you got to take whatever you can get. But if you're not in that situation,
that's what I would always hate about interviewing people. I don't like being like, all right, well, most of these people aren't going to get the job.
Yeah.
That sucks. Why am I involved in this? In somebody's, setbacks in their life. I don't want to be involved in anybody's setbacks.
Well, that's what I would hate. Like sometimes at jobs, I would get pulled into interviews, other people's interviews that they'd be like, I want like help, interviewing. And it would be like the 12th person they were interviewing for the job. And it's like, don't interview this many people. And like, if you're getting this many bad candidates, like if you haven't found anybody, like take another
close down the business. You don't need. You're not good at
take
it.
another look at with the listing and how much you're offering, because like I've seen that where it's like we can't find anybody good, and then it's like how much does the job pay, and they tell you it's like because you're not going to find anybody good that's willing to do this difficult job for that amount of money or whatever.
Juggling fiery
bowling pins all day, 8 hours a day, no breaks.
You can't do that for cheap. Tom, do you know these people that are always like hopping around from? It's a very New York thing, I think, or like a big city thing, where it's just like nobody stays at a job or people who don't stay at a job for more than like a year and a half or 2 years. It's just like. You're a maniac. I never want to go on a job interview again for the rest of my life.
Unfortunately, in a lot of careers, that's like the only way you can move up.
Yeah.
Like a lot of places.
I'd be happy. Like the quality of life of not having to go to a job interview.
Yeah.
I'd be stuck in the same, dead end job for the rest of my life if I needed to be, if I didn't have to like try to make sure the shirt is ironed.
These are the things you're worried about? Making sure a shirt is ironed?
All of that, and then like making sure that like one time I went to an interview at like a cool place and I was way overdressed for the interview, like wearing the right clothes, making sure that like you don't look like a weirdo in them, like figuring out how your personal style fits in with the company's personal style. Like that's like
you don't want to overdo it. Yeah.
And like if you're going back 3 different times, you can't wear the same goddamn outfit every time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And then I just don't want to deal with any of that ever again in my life. I never want to be in that position where like I'm trying to convince somebody like to change my life significantly.
Well, Tim, I'm afraid you don't have the job.
See you next week. Oh, maybe I won't.
No, Tim. I thought I was pretty clear about that.
Thank you for your time.
We're deciding to go in a different direction.
Nobody at all.
Nobody at all.
It's just gonna be you next week.
Yeah, Tim, it turns out we should have written the job description better because we didn't get the right candidates.
Well, it was a grueling 12-year process.
And I'll be honest, Tim, drinking during most of these interviews has not helped.
I had to agree with you.
Luckily, it's not what it came down to, but it certainly didn't help.
Tough but fair. Thank you for the feedback.
All right. We'll see you next week.
That was a HeadGum podcast.